How's it going?
Yes, good. Thank you. How are you?
Excellent. So you're out in, are you in Los Angeles?
I am. I am. I've been racing around a little bit recently, but I just sort of settled back for a little bit.
Excellent. Well, very exciting to see you. Uh, how's the new EP doing? You just released an amazing new EP that I
Oh,
have gone through. It's beautiful.
thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a really kind of curious set of new feelings and new reactions from me. Even having been a sort of person who's involved in the creative arts for 20 years, and seeing the release of various projects that I've worked on and the reactions to them. But I have to say, there's nothing quite like the release of your own songs that you've written. It's a bit like letting go of your own child's hand in a public place. I think it's just they're probably not coming back, and you just hope that they're sort of looked after. I don't know, maybe that's a very strange analogy, I don't know, but it definitely feels like letting go of something of yours rather than sort of pushing something. And I think when I've been involved in TV shows and films and things, I'm concerned with the reaction. I really want people to enjoy it and get something out of it, of course. But when it's songs that you've written yourself, I think you want people to connect with it in terms of something in their own lives, which is never my thought when I'm when I'm playing a role on TV.
Yeah, you're crafting, and a lot of people consider that like that. Those are your babies, and they'll always be that in your collection of.
Yeah, exactly. But I always talked about like TV shows as being or films being just a collection of scenes until someone sees them and reacts to them. I don't feel quite that way about songs. I think songs can be full songs before they're reacted to. Do you know what I mean? They're complete things. But when you do release them or share them, which are the two words we use when we put out music. We release it and we share it. I think that when you do finally do that, it's people do scrape off a little piece of it for themselves if it's something they connect to, and they're like, this line is mine, or I know what this is, or that chord makes me feel a certain way. I do that with music all the time.
Oh, absolutely. It becomes the soundtrack of your life, and you remember.
Yeah, exactly that.
Totally. So this Songs for You, crafted at your piano. How long have you been into piano? Has this all been part of your life while you were acting?
It really, the piano part has been more of I think of an ambition or a way I sort of wanted to see myself rather than something that I actually did and prioritized. I had one piano lesson when I was about 6, and the teacher was so horrible and sort of shamed me at the end of the lesson that I didn't know anything, that I never went back. And it is such a huge regret because I think if I'd been playing for the last 30 something years, my facility with it, my language, the way I was able to tell stories with it would be amazing, I think. But sadly, I sort of didn't touch it until my mid-30s. I didn't sort of come back to it. I was playing the drums and singing, but I didn't really come back to the piano, which was always the thing I gravitated towards. I would, the Stevie Wonders, the Donny Hathaways, the Nat King Coles, the Ray Charleses, like those people who sat at the piano and sung, the Elton Johns even. I think those were the sounds that like nourished me growing up. And so I always imagined the sort of romance of being able to sit at a piano and play something. And whilst I'm still definitively crap at the piano, I can enjoy it enough to the point where last night I was listening to a new Foy Vance's new album, and there was a little song on the end of it that just got me, just utterly got me. And I thought, and I was able to, within 20 minutes or something, be sitting and playing and singing it at my piano and thinking, I love this. I love doing this.
How's that different from acting? The music versus the acting. How's the process different? They're both in the creative arts, but how is that different from when you're preparing for a role versus songwriting?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously playing a role is obviously it's on someone else's sort of timeline, it's someone else's story, and what I'm doing, I think, is preparing to kind of take whatever it is of myself that I relate to that character and inject what I am interpreting on the page with that little piece of myself. Whereas I think when I'm writing songs, it's almost the percentages are the other way around. It's entirely me. It's from me. It is about me. It is of me. And then I'm injecting this tiny piece of how do I present this in a way that, you know, people will understand and people can connect to, you know. So it's almost like it's almost kind of like 90-10, and it's flipped the other way around for music for me.
So the feature track 1111, how did that come about? How were you inspired to write such a beautiful standout track like that?
Oh, thank you. Well, I think most of my songs come from, like, I keep a lot of like little notebooks or just like the note app in my phone, and if I hear a little phrase or I read a little line in a poem, or somebody even just uses a word I haven't heard in a while that I found it, even on an interview the other day, somebody said something and I was like, oh, I was being interviewed, and the interviewer said something, I was like, that's good, I'm writing that down. And so I think sometimes those little feelings or reactions can build into what is essentially a poem for me. And sometimes I use those in my own life for buoying people who are down, or for celebrating something, or just maybe a 2-line rhyme in a birthday card or something. My dad used to do it at on Christmas Day all the time. He writes a poem about the year, and it was always very honest and celebrating the good things, and maybe, you know, commenting or commiserating on the things that were difficult. And I always loved that. And so that's what I try and do with my songs, I think. And I think 1111, I'm not exactly sure. It didn't start with the detail of the 1111. That was a sort of just I love songs that are about something and then have little details. And 1111 being that sort of like mirror Make-A-Wish number was more of a detail in that song. But it really captured an example of, you know, making, you know, this kind of sacrificial kind of unwavering kind of love, where even if you can't be in the relationship that you're imagining, that doesn't stop you from having the power to do the loving from your end. And I hadn't really heard a love song that was about that, and it felt new and different to me. And then you know, it was just it even actually came out of conversations with people who were struggling, you know, and saying, well, you know, what do you want to be? And they were just, well, I just want to feel free, and I don't want to feel fear anymore. I want a chance to be happy. And I was like, huh,
Nice.
those 3 things. And then I was like, oh, 3 things, 3 wishes, genies give 3 wishes. And it just kind of took on this like slightly, you know, that aspect to it.
Yeah, it's got this jazzy piano, and it sounds like, yeah, Queen inspired guitar work in there too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jesse Siebenberg and John Alagia, who were the producers, they're responsible for the Queen guitars for sure. I talk about Queen, so I mean,
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
For the record, listeners, I'm holding up my Freddie Mercury coffee mug. Yeah, I talk about them so much. I think they added that in as a little treat for me. But I think any music you make is always going to be informed and sprinkled with influence of everything you've ever loved. And so I was like, well, Motown horns, I love all that. And then the jazzy piano, that sort of, that Nat King Cole kind of piano I just love it. It's in the second verse. It has that very jazzy Nat King Cole vibe. Charles Jones, my piano player, who is the most incredible musician and singer, sounds like Donny Hathaway, is amazing. And he, and I was like, so I'm just sitting there conducting. I write the chords and the lyrics, and I play the song, and I go, okay, genius people, make this sing for me, and I was like, can you sprinkle some sort of jazzier stuff on the second verse? And then they do it. And I wish I could do it, but I'm so lucky to have all the people help me that did.
That's what a great producer is for, is to make you feel comfortable while you're recording, and then really getting in there with the mix and just putting all these wonderful layers on it. I love the Penny Lane inspired horns. That's
my God. And that was a very specific thing. I said, I don't know what I want from the horns, but on the line where it says, come with trumpets, pipe and drum, I said, I need a fanfare. I don't know how. I think it's Penny Lane vibe. And then, it sort of came back from a brilliant horn arranger, Lee Thornburg, with this on this like piccolo trumpet and piccolo. They play it together. And I was just like, this is so good. And then I loved sitting in the mix with John and saying, can we have a bit more? Can you just turn that fanfare up? He was like, well, it's a sort of at a good level. I was like, please turn it up. I love it. I want the bits that I love to be loud. And he was like, okay, let's do it. And when I listen to it, I'm happy that the backing vocals or the organ or whatever are that little bit louder than they might be on other songs, because they're the bits that I love, and I want people to hear the bits that I love.
Oh, it's like comfort food in a way. Like when you hear Penny Lane, gosh, you just feel like you're at Penny Lane. I could just picture that road. I could picture just being in England, and it's rainy, and it's just like, it totally evokes those memories.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, exactly.
Love how you
for someone else, it might evoke something of a very American high school band memory of being under the bleachers with some boy, or I don't know. Like, it might it was different for everyone.
Sure. Absolutely, it could be whatever you want it to be, but it's like it has that connection, and I think that's what you get in an EP like this. So the video for this is really nice too. What's the story behind that? You shot that in downtown Los Angeles?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the 11/11 video was definitely just sort of from my head. I was chatting with a friend, and I was like, yeah, this video needs a performance in it, but I don't want to do performance videos. I want to do storytelling videos, because I'm an actor, and that's what I do. That's what I love. That's what I'm good at. That's how people will be able to make this connection to music with me. And it would be a waste to just sort of stand there and sing or do some abstract thing. So I was like, well, what if there's a performance and there's only one audience member? And then what if I'm seeing that audience member everywhere on the way to the stage? I remembered a sort of a Coldplay video where they made their way to the stage, and I was like, but maybe it could have a bit more sort of story than that. And anyway, that's sort of how I worked backwards on the conception of that video. But yeah, again, very lucky that I managed to get Evan Rachel Wood, who I'd worked with in Westworld. And well, I obviously did some work on her to get her to help me to do this. So there we go. And then Lee Krieger, who directed some of the Shadow and Bone show that I do for Netflix, he came and directed it for me. So I was very, very, very lucky, cashing in some favors from some lovely, brilliant people.
So how long were you into songwriting? Was this something that you've been doing all along while acting? Started when you were very young, or just more recent?
Not really. Yeah, not certainly not all the way through. I did write some songs. I tried to sort of do this when I was about 19, and I sort of quite well, quite often talked about it in other interviews and stuff, about how I sort of tried to do it over 20 years ago, and I was signed to Simon Fuller, and I was writing some songs and working with some producers in London and recording some jazz standards and stuff, and it just kind of slipped through my fingers a bit, and it didn't work out, and I thought maybe I didn't have the constitution for it, or I didn't know what my voice was or something. And I go back and listen to some of those songs, and they're actually not too bad. I definitely would steal a line from one or two if I needed it, but then I sort of didn't for 15 years or something. I was just doing the acting, and I was writing down little lyrical things, but I didn't sit and finish songs for a long time. And then came back to it, in, I'd say, the year or two before
during the pandemic, yeah.
Before the pandemic, and then managed to finish actually all the songs on the EP were finished during the pandemic. And they just sort of came together in the same way. And then they started to feel like they were all about the same thing, which was sort of this like hope in the face of, and romance in the face of, and love in the face of, and you know, familiarity and family in the face of whatever else this sort of the gray of the world, the in-betweens of the world offer you. And I was like, no, they all go together. They seem disparate, but they're not.
Interesting. How did it all come together during the pandemic? You recorded yourself? Did you have yourself professionally recorded and you were just trading files, and finally somebody like Jesse puts this all together? How did that all come together?
So the first thing was voice notes at that piano, with just voice notes, and sending them round to some producers. And then eventually John and Jesse sort of bit and said, okay, let's do this. And then it was all done remotely. So I managed to get my drummer from a movie I did 15 years ago called Killing Bono, and I just hit it off with him, and he's brilliant. And he's actually Foy Vance's drummer, who's one of my favorite artists, and he's prolific. And I said, would you do this and record it at home in Ireland? And he was like, yes. And do you want Foy's bass player to play on it as well, because we can do it together in the same room, because we're working together anyway. And I was like, okay, great. So that's that taken care of. And then I found my way to Charles Jones, the piano player in LA, and he and I managed to record just the two of us, you know, and it was a strange experience, sort of bemasked, and, you know, it's sort of with the windows open and all this strange thing. But I, you know, the piano was very much going to be the foundation layer. So I wanted it to be kind of how I wanted it to be. And then we sent those files to John and Jesse, and then we built it from there. And they put me in touch with Oliver Krauss, who did the strings. He recorded them himself. He recorded each instrument himself, and the same with Lee on the horns. And then they sort of sent them, and I had thoughts about it sometimes. So I said, you know, this is amazing. This is a bit strange in this section, or I want to take this out because it's too dense. And so then we had this lovely editing kind of mixing process, which I loved, where we kind of tailored it to what we wanted it to be. And then Jesse's a great guitarist, so he added some guitars. And that was really it. There wasn't a huge amount of other stuff. Hunter Elizabeth, my friend, who's just a phenomenal singer, threw on some backing vocals on a couple of tunes, just threw them on in 5 minutes because she can do that. But yeah, it was all done separately because you wanted to keep it all safe during the pandemic. And so it was all remote, and then we sort of stitched it together.
How did you get in touch with Jesse Siebenberg, who's also produced huge names? I've worked with Kesha, I believe, and a few other huge names.
He worked with Lucas Nelson, and then John had worked with John Mayer and Herbie Hancock, and some of them. I got in touch with John. He actually sold me this piano when the recording studio in LA was breaking down through my friend Hunter, who is a phenomenal singer, but actually worked on the crew of Westworld. So it was all these little tangential links. Yeah, eventually sort of found my people for it.
When you're shooting, I mean, we legendarily know that actors and people who work on movies have a lot of downtime. Like, you're in your trailer, you get inspired to just, like, you know, go into your notes and just start writing lyrics just to keep your mind going.
It sort of depends what it is. I've been very lucky. I think the way the film industry is working in the last few years is that if you're at work, you tend to be doing it. And I'm lucky enough that when I'm at the point in my career where if I'm there, I'm involved, which I love. But some of the ensemble shows I do, they definitely get time off. So my only kind of prerequisite for, you know, going off somewhere across the world for 6 months is, can there be a piano in the in wherever I'm staying? Because if I have that time off, but I'm halfway across the world away from structure and people, then I want to be writing songs. So I'm trying to get, like, just like, even if I just rent a rinky-tink old piano, but try and find a way to get something wherever I am.
It's got to be the full piano. It just can't be like a keyboard. It's not the same, I would think.
I've done it with a keyboard for a few weeks somewhere. I got a little one off of, I actually finished writing Rise Up on a little keyboard that was like about this long, which is why there's only about 4 chords in it. But Yeah, it's something about, if you're going to be writing music, there's something about strings, you know, a hammer hitting strings, which just feels different.
And the track Rise Up doesn't
I'm a
make
rubbish piano player, but I'm a snob, apparently.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, you can't accept anything less.
Yeah.
But that track Rise Up, one of the 5 tracks, is just really, really nice and layered with strings and a beautiful slow intro. One of the 5 that just really, really just flows very nicely.
Thank you.
Another
Yeah,
song I like is,
I said to Oliver, I said I want like Ray Charles's Georgia, like very like lush, something lush and like with pathos in it.
oh, what he did with George on my mind. Yeah, it's just like, it's gorgeous. The Hoagie Carmichael song just really does a beautiful job with that. Another song I
Good
like.
knowledge. I don't think I would have been able to tell you Hoagie Carmichael. I'm really bad. Sometimes I just know the version that I know, and I'm like, I just
I was raised on that.
you assume you assume sometimes they wrote it, which is because it's so in their voice and body.
Oh, totally. It becomes theirs. I mean, the way that they arranged it, and sometimes the cover is better than the original. So they've done a very good job with that. I really enjoy Pirate Song. That's another standout track to me too in your collection. Where did Pirate Song come from?
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of sort of nice love for that on social media that I'm seeing people bopping along to it. That was one of the songs. I think that was probably the song that I was sort of sat down. I was like, right, I want to write another song today, which I never really do. I sort of wait till something feels like it's got some life, and then I work on it, because I don't need to be doing it. I do it because I love it and I want to. And that was a song that was kind of like, sort of wanted to write a song about those sort of elusive people in your life that you can't, that you're sort of drawn to, but you can't ever make them feel like real. And I think we all have those people. And then, but the song was boring me, honestly. And I was like, it needs a metaphor for something. And I was watching stuff, and obviously I do a lot of fantasy shows and all of that stuff. And I was thinking about, pirates with a woman in every port. And I was thinking, just in the sort of way that the world is, you sort of automatically, I think now people start to sort of flip things, the perspective the other way. And I was, I think being around the young cast that I was working with on Shadow and Bone, you're always encouraging you to kind of automatically see things the other way around. I was like, okay, so what if it's this woman pirate and she's got a man in every port, and those are the men that are like pining for her to come back and can't quite get her because she's, sailing on the seas and pretending to be dead. And I read about this real life pirate back from the dead Red who would fake her own death and sort of, pull off various heists. And I thought this wonderful fire-headed kind of pirate who's faking her own death, she must have had men kind of fawning for her. And so I was like, well, let's use that metaphor. That'll spice the song up a bit. And then it was still very slow and boring and didn't quite work how I wanted it to. And I was listening to this St. Paul and the Broken Bones track, thinking, oh, maybe we could do something more like this. And Jesse actually, I think, was the one who suggested, let's sort of speed it up, like almost double speed, and make it into a bit of a bop, and taking that Paul of the Broken Bones thing is a bit of a sort of a genre template for it, and actually it ended up not really sound like that. But then because we were in the weeds on the other songs, Oliver Krause, who did the strings, was like, oh, I can make it sound like a ship with the and then the horns, and we just threw everything at that song, and we just let it be as big and kind of, I was like, I want a gang of soul pirates singing, I was like, let's just throw everything at this one and make it kind of big.
Yeah, it keeps in with that theme, and that's kind of your blueprint with a thematic song like that. You're just staying in that architecture. It's really neat.
Yeah.
So going forward, you just want to do you want to do acting more, music, or just 50-50 going straight forward? Where do you see yourself going forward?
I mean, I honestly don't know. Like I said, I don't have to be doing this. So it's going to be the things that kind of grab me and get my attention. And you know, I would love to do more music. I would love to do some covers, a cover album. I would love to write a full album and see where the songwriter could take me. I'd love to work with some other songwriters and producers and other, you know, just kind of soak up living deeply in the world of music if they'll have me. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I don't feel like an intruder, and I feel like I've kind of earned my first little badge by putting this out and having people respond to it. And you know, I want to kind of push more to find out what my sound can be, you know. And I'd love to do some performances as well. So I'm just kind of like seeing what options are available to me, because, you know, I can't make my whole life about it, because I have a career which I love, and I have shows that I'm on and I'm excited to get back to. And for those people, but I'm very excited to see what opportunities I can kind of, because I really pushed this one and pulled it out of nothing. You know, and it was really hard work to do it, obviously, as you might expect, but yeah, I'm intrigued to see what would be next. I would you know, whether that's, you know, doing a covers album, or whether it's duetting with someone on something, or whether it's, you know, all the way up to, you know, doing a residency at the Sands when I'm 50. I don't know. It would be cool, like whatever.
So performing live maybe musical, or just actually, I mean, doing that live,
Totally.
seeing that, yeah.
Totally, yeah. I see what people, you know, there's some actors, Hugh Jackman, and people who do shows of their own, which are, you know, part stuff they've worked on, and I've done soundtracks for stuff, and then this my own music, and then, you know, it's so, I mean, I don't know what's next, but I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, you do. And that's the funniest thing about being in the arts. It's like, you don't know what's going to come down the road, but it's also exciting at the same time. I really enjoy that. That's really cool. It's been great chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you for having such specific music questions. That makes me really happy.
Absolutely. Songs for You, 5-song EP. Where can we get this?
Well, it's everywhere. I'm assured it's on 150 sort of DSPs or whatever, but it's certainly on Spotify and Apple Music and all Amazon and all those places where you listen to stuff. So you can just go and stream it.
Can we get physical copies with a beautiful cover, or get this?
Yeah, I've got some, we're only selling signed versions of it, because I just thought that made it a bit more special, because not that many people have CD players. So there's a bandware store. If you go to my Instagram at the link there's a store, or on Twitter, I'm sure you can find it, Facebook or whatever it is. I don't know how to use them. I don't know how to use them, but I'm sure you do. And so yeah, there's a sort of limited number of CDs, and then we're making some vinyls. But there's a weird worldwide shortage on vinyls, so they're not going to be around till the summer. But in the summer, I'm going to sign, I think, 1,000 of those or something, and then there'll be some vinyls as well, which is very exciting. I think I'm just doing that so I can have one, and if I don't sell the other 999, doesn't matter. Like I just want one. I can frame it.
Awesome. That is so cool. So will we see you back more on HBO in the future? And you're also on a Netflix program.
There's 2 Netflix things at the moment. Yeah, I'm doing the Netflix show Shadow and Bone, which continuing with the 2nd season. And then I just finished a Guillermo del Toro horror thing for Netflix as well, called The Cabinet of Curiosities. So that'll be around at some point as well.
Awesome. Best wishes for your career. Maybe one day we'll see you performing in arenas like Hugh Jackman. And
that would be amazing. I'd like to see there.
Cool. Thank you so much for stopping by, and hope
Thanks,
to see you soon. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.